Hello and thank you for joining me today. Well, this is the Monday, January 19th edition of our video devotionals. We appreciate you being with us today, and I hope your Monday's going well. And here it is. Some of you, of course, may not be at work today, and I think the kids will be out of school today just due to the federal holiday. But that being said, hopefully your Monday is a good Monday. We're going to be in Genesis chapter 45 today. We'll begin at verse 4, read down just a few verses. Try to give you something on this Monday to be of help to you. We appreciate you watching. We appreciate the comments, the acknowledgments, and all of that. And hopefully we can continue to be a blessing to you as we continue through this year. Hard to believe we're already past the halfway point now of the month of January. So take advantage of each day that you have, and let's try to make it a good one, all right? All right, so Genesis 45, notice in verse 4, "And Joseph said unto his brethren, Come near to me, I pray you. And they came near. And he said, I am Joseph, your brother, whom ye sold into Egypt. Now therefore be not grieved, nor angry with yourselves, that ye sold me hither. For God did send me before you to preserve life. For these 2 years hath the famine been in the land, and yet there are 5 years in the which there shall neither be earing nor harvest. And God sent me before you to preserve you a posterity in the earth, and to save your lives by a great deliverance." Now notice verse 8. "So now it was not you that sent me hither, but God. And he hath made me a father to Pharaoh, and lord of all his house, and a ruler throughout all the land of Egypt." Well, you know the story. If you've been in church any length of time, the brothers were angry, did not like Joseph at all. Ended up, they sell him. Joseph goes down into Egypt, and of course down there he's sold to a man by the name of Potiphar. His wife tries to seduce Joseph, and he runs away, but she grabs his coat and accuses him of impropriety. So he ends up in prison, and there's a baker and a butler there. They have dreams. He interprets those dreams, and I believe it was the butler who was saved, and the baker, I think he was executed. But a little past, Pharaoh has this dream, and he's saying, I need somebody to interpret my dream. And the butler says, you know what, I just remembered something. I remembered that when I was in prison, there was a man there that told me my dream. And of course, they quickly brought Joseph out, had to clean him up real good, and ends up, Joseph, of course, interprets the dream for Pharaoh. And Pharaoh just advances him from a prisoner to basically second in command. Well, because of that dream and because of Joseph interpreting of it and the wisdom that he showed, then Pharaoh says, well, you be in charge of the food supply because of this famine situation. Well, of course, the brothers, they end up back in Egypt because they need to get food. Dad says, you need to go down there in Egypt. They've got food, buy us food, and there's a lot of parts to that. Ends up on the second trip back is that when Joseph, he discloses himself to his brothers, they didn't know him. And of course, here's what he says basically. He says, now look, don't be upset with yourselves that you sold me. Now, first of all, that was a bad thing. There's no doubt about it. That was a bad thing they did. They're responsible for that. And yet God used that situation because in those dreams that initially Joseph had, this was kind of what was being foretold, that Joseph was going to be in this position. But the interesting thing about it in verse 8 is this. So now it was not you that sent me hither. Okay, you say, yeah, they did. They really did. Yeah, but notice what it says here, but God. And the thing about it is this, I know the providence of God and the grace of God. It's amazing how things work out. Romans 8:28, we understand all that. But I think also within this story, here's what you got to realize. When you look at this and say, okay, there's the hand of God, His providence, His grace, and all of that. Yeah, but look at the attitude of Joseph. To me, it's even miraculous. It shows the grace of God and the touch of God in a person's life when he could have really, really reined in on his brothers, but he didn't do that. Not only does Joseph believe that God was involved, but he's basically saying, look, fellas, it's okay from my standpoint. And I say to myself, wow, when God says forgive, then, we forgive by faith. But sometimes what's our attitude about some of the things that God has us do? So I would say let's not only live by faith as we're supposed to, but how about the fact that Joseph says, I'm not going to hold it against you guys. I'm just not going to do it. And that shows to me the hand of God in a person's life too. That God likeness, that godliness that Joseph is showing just in his attitude. And may we have that today, okay? Well, I'm going to stop right there. Hope you have a great day, safe day, healthy day. Lord willing, we'll be back tomorrow. And thank you for watching.